Welcome to Speak It Out with Mikkia. We are here to empower you through faith, motherhood, business, mental health, and all the things in between. Because listen, life is going to be life, but it's how you power through that matters. So let's do it together. Stay tuned for tools that can help you on your journey. All right. So, Miss Bridgett Springer, aka the Financial Lady, we are so glad that you decided to join our podcast. So, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, I want you to go ahead and first introduce who you are to the audience so we know who you are and how, um, and then we'll jump right into the questions, okay?
Cool. Well, my name is Bridgett Springer. I am the only Black-owned, woman-owned financial services and wealth management firm here in Houston, Texas. Black women hire me to allow me to help them put their financial plans on paper so they can live the life they want on their terms.
Okay. All right. Well, I am faith-based, and I think there's a lot of hold up on our end on how to bridge that gap financially, that wealth gap. So, first of all, because my intro is really about life be life, okay? And it's going to life, okay? But I think that your business is something that help us be proactive, right? So in the Bible says you will face many trials and tribulations, right? So it's already up there up front, but the Lord will deliver us from them all, right? So can you tell us first, before you get into how you're going to help us be proactive, how did you get started? How did you say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and start this business and help my people? Like, how did we get here?
Look, it got started in the church. Did you say that? I'm so serious. So I would say it really started when I was a little girl. I always had this entrepreneur, like, I want to make money. My dad was the one who really showed me that because he worked a job, but he always had other ways of making money. And so that rubbed off on me. So of course I'm, selling cool pops, made my little sign sitting in the front yard for 25 cents, doing all the things. But it really started, I took a class. It was Dave Ramsey's Financial University class at a church with my girlfriend. I always knew I wanted to start a business. I just didn't know, I just knew I wanted to help people. And so we took a class together. It was, oh God, it was so many, look, this was a while ago. So this was, close to 10 years ago. We took the class and we would go every Saturday. I would say it was maybe for like 8 weeks or something, maybe longer than that. We took the class and I just fell in love with everything about it, understanding it, understanding money. I also went and took a class at H&R Block because I wanted to learn how to do taxes. So I got certified to do business and personal taxes. So it started in the church. It really did. That just transformed my life to really see how the other side of the world does things.
Yeah, yeah.
It did, so it started there. And really I started off doing taxes. Um, I started off doing taxes. Yes, I have a degree, graduated from TSU here in Houston, Texas, have my master's, graduated from Rice University, to be a certified financial planner. So I literally, yes, I went to school, but the foundation of it all, like a sociology background, minor in history. Like I just knew I always wanted to help people. And I just never knew in what capacity. So a lot
Yeah.
of times your plan can be one thing, God has something.
Listen.
So so it is. So it started there. I just knew I wanted to do something different. But I know I didn't want to keep working for anybody else. I knew that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of people are in that position. Like they like, I got this 9 to 5. Some people working 1 and 2 jobs, got to support 3 and 4 kids. And they like, well, how am I going to put aside some money, right, to build wealth, right? Most people trying to get rich, but there is a difference between getting rich and getting wealthy. So what I liked is that you said that your father, kind of rubbed off on you. And even though he was a working man and he kind of like, just like, this is, you got to have more, because I think a lot of us get into patterns passed down from generation to generation, and it starts in the home. So if your household, nobody's talking about how to do anything with money, and they might not have all the information, but you need to save some money, you need to do this, right? So how do you think your company is going to help us break those habits? Because some people, no matter how old they are, they need to kind of break those patterns, and it's not an easy thing because like I said, they got 3 and 4 children, and they're like, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. So, how can you help them start to get on the right path?
I love what you said because a lot of it is generational. A lot of these generational bad money habits, it started in the home. You watch what your parents did, how they handled money or not. They only could teach you what they knew. Like if they didn't know about stocks and bonds, they can't teach you that.
Yeah,
So a lot of times our habits and what we've learned over the years are bad habits, right? But at that time, we didn't know that. We
right.
just knew, yeah, all we were taught to is work, take care of your family, work, take care of your family. But my dad was more on that, baby, don't rely on the government. He would
Right.
tell me much. He said, because when they change their mind, they don't have you in mind. Like when they change, when they make a
They
change,
didn't have us in mind from the get go.
no. So he would tell
So,
me that. So I just kind of grew up like, okay, this system not for me. Because that's what my
yeah,
dad said, like, this system is not for me. But well, it starts here. A lot of times we feel like physically, if I get more money, you still have a impoverished mentality. I know people right
exactly.
now who I guess you could say, quote unquote, are financially stable, make $300,000-400,000 a year, and literally still here, mentally have a impoverished mentality. So how I start with my clients and I work with them,
Mhm.
I may do 10 minutes literally at times of financial planning, but that 50 minutes is therapy. Because what past relationship, what was your story with money? I got to get to the root of why you are where you are here. How did you get here that you have 100K in credit card debt? Because there's a reason why.
Yeah.
And so for you to ignore that, you can't. I need to know what happened. Was it a divorce? Was it you
Mhm.
didn't managing your money? You didn't know how to budget? What is it? Who do you need to forgive? I ask all my ladies that. I said, who do you need to
Mhm.
forgive?
Yeah.
Is it you? Is it him? Is it her? A job, a boss, whatever? Because a lot of time when you're harboring unforgiveness, it's blocking you from what you really
Listen,
need.
I won't even go into the proverb that talks about that. I,
It will block it. It will block it. But it's just, I start off with how did we get here?
how did we get
And
here?
it's not that transactional. Because a lot of times women need to, one, they need to feel like they can trust you.
Hmm.
Am I safe with you if I open up and share with you? But I got to get to know you first. So
Yeah.
it's not all about transactional. I can show you all day long how to do stuff.
Right.
But if we don't get here and heal here,
Uh-huh.
it's going to always affect your money.
Well, I'm glad that you said that. You have to have a shift in the mindset. That has to start first before you want to start something over, something new, and to change it. The definition of insanity is doing something over and over, expecting a different result. It's not going to happen. If you can't think differently about how to handle your finances or how to handle life, right? Because if we're trying to be proactive, I believe that those who are already wealthy, somebody was proactive. Somebody said, well, you know what? I'm not going to think about just today. What am I going to do for my children? And it's not saying that some of the mothers, especially in our community, or the fathers, don't want to. It's more, like I said, I'm pinching pennies and I need to start somewhere, and I may be in debt, right? I won't go into how that's already position, but still we have a part in that. So what can you know, what can we learn from you? Because I know part of your mission is to educate and empower, which I love, right? How can a mother come to you and say, okay, I only make $15 an hour, right? Just the reality of it. And how do I put aside some money to start building this gap to get my children on right or to get me right?
We got to start somewhere. We're going to start where you are. I think a lot of times I have people who make less money who have more money saved than the people who make more money. I have
Mm.
people who make 250,000 have zero saved, but I have somebody that makes 50,000 a year has 200, $300,000.
Is that survival? Is that like that survival mentality? Like I don't want to be without, so I gotta put something, or can it go both ways? Because it can
It can
make
go
you
both ways. It can be survival It can go both ways. It
Uh-huh.
can go in survival mode. I didn't have anything growing up, so now I'm gonna just stockpile everything. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
mindful.
Or buy
Or buy,
because you didn't have.
or I
Yeah.
gotta buy because if something go down, I gotta make sure I got about 20 rings of toilet paper and 20 cans of
Yeah.
scarcity mindset that you're gonna always have lack, like you're not gonna have it. And so you going in scarcity. But to the mom who is barely making it,
Yeah.
it's gonna be some times you had to come to Jesus conversation with yourself
Yeah.
where if you can save $5.
Yeah.
You can save $5. I don't care. You can save $1.
Hmm.
If you can do that, be disciplined in that, then when more money comes, you'll be able to know what to do with it. But I'm gonna be realistic with you. Women make less money than men.
Hmm.
It can be the same job. He can make 100, she'll make 35,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so you're trying to figure out, how do I save? It's ways of you doing things. But it's also, you're gonna have to step up and make more money.
Yes.
So the days of trying to, like we say, take blood from a turnip, like you have to make more money
Yeah.
because of cost of living. But that goes to the education.
Hmm.
If you make $100,000 today, that's really more like 50,000. It's almost half because the value of a dollar is not worth what it used to be. So if you
It's
have
changing.
$100 right now,
Hmm.
it's really worth probably about 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's understanding that. And I think at times where you feel like, well, I'm only making $15, $20 an hour, and I can't say, yes, you can. And keeping the promise to yourself.
Hmm.
If you telling me you can't save $5, we have a problem.
Okay.
Why can't you save $5? You try to tell.
Sometimes you might have to decide not to get your nails done for a couple months. Okay, I went without, I think 3, 4 months, just because I was like, you know what, I'm not going to get my feet done, my nails. I did my own like we used to do. I just polished my own, and I saved, and I saw the difference because you could pay $100 or more just on your feet and your hands. That's $100 out of your check that you could have put aside. And what I want you to explain that you can have a Roth IRA or something without it coming from an employer. Because if you're in that bracket and you don't have that, where they say, okay, you want to have a 401k, you can open up something. Can you tell us a little bit with, not too much detail, but just enough how we can position ourselves to even open these things that we thought was not accessible because, hey, I don't make that much money. How can I start that way to build, because that's investment.
Of course, they're vehicles. And I try not to get caught up in the acronym because that's how you lose people. And
Okay, okay.
there are vehicles, right, that you can put your money. If you worked at a job or not, you're self-employed, you can set up for your kids when they're born, and you can say, look, minimum, they requires $100 a month that you have to put in minimum,
Hmm.
right? It's $25 a week.
Okay.
So that is you saying $25, you can put this money back. In 10 years, the
Hmm.
money doubles,
Yeah.
right? And then when you want to take it out later, then you're not paying taxes on it because you've already paid taxes on the money. I don't care if you're working a job where you busting tables, you driving a bus, whatever, you flipping burgers, you can step that up.
It takes discipline,
It
right?
takes discipline.
It's it
But
it
automation is the key.
Yeah.
Automation is the key. You cannot rely on you. You gotta automate it. That money gotta automatically go out and go into that account because if you rely on you to say you're gonna do it, you're not going to do it. Everything else gonna get in the way. The family gonna get in the way. The kids gonna get in the way. Somebody gonna call you. You feel like I gotta get money. I gotta help this person. One thing I've noticed because I serve primarily women,
Hmm.
women will get debt for other people
We
under
got
their name.
we gotta stop.
They will, huh?
I said we gotta stop. We can't be doing that.
We will we will get debt. We will give credit cards away and say, hey, here, you can use this thousands of dollars. And I'm like, why? That is another issue. And that's a whole nother conversation because we're saying, I don't have the money, but you're too busy taking care of everybody else. Why would you go rack up 5, 10? I've known women to rack up $40,000 in debt for other people, their children,
Mhm.
but they don't have it. That's a problem. Because society is telling us that we just, all women are good for taking care of everybody else, taking care of these kids, working, and no,
Um,
you were put here more for that. I'm not saying you should not help, but you should be able to teach them how to fish so they can eat for a lifetime.
mhm.
You should be able and use that to yourself.
Yeah,
Say, look, teach yourself how to fish so you can eat for a lifetime. Because you can make this, it goes back to this. It's the mindset.
yeah,
You can lose all the money, but if you know how to make a million and you lose it, you'll know how to do it again. But
yeah,
if you don't know how to do it and you don't have the foundation, you don't know what to do. So it really starts with not the investments, the vehicles you can
yeah.
put the money in, is this.
The mind.
It
It always goes
starts
back to
with
the
the
mind.
mindset. Because this is something, unless you lose it
Okay.
through the, medical problems,
Yeah.
as long as you have this, they can't take it from you.
Mm.
You can do it again if you know what to do. And that's the biggest thing when you asked the question earlier. How do I support? How do I help my women? I help women by educating them. I'm not saying you need to be an expert, but I need you to understand some stuff. So
Yeah.
nobody's not pulling the wool over your eyes or selling you something where you don't know what you're doing. You do need to have a basic understanding of it.
Yeah.
And that's so important.
Yeah. Thank you. So and I know Bridget, um, when I spoke with her, she speaks so plainly. So you're able to understand the financial talk. She breaks it down as plain as possible, just to get you started. So I think that's helpful. Like you just said, like because sometimes we have to see it in our own in our own way, like talk to me like I'm stupid, right? I'm not, but listen, that's not my area. I need to know what I'm getting into. I need to know how this going to affect me now and how I'm going to set it up for my future, which is my children if I have it, and my future if I don't have it, or whatever the case is, right? So I like that the goal is to educate, right? And then you'll feel more comfortable with making those decisions because that's where it starts. You got to be informed.
It also builds your confidence. A lot of times you won't make a move because you're not confident in it. If you're not knowledgeable, you don't understand something, you're confused, you would just sit there because I don't know what to do. Or the fear is, I don't want to make a mistake.
You think
So I
most women deal with that versus men? Fear of making a mistake?
absolutely, you know why? Because
Mm-mm.
men can go out and do. They don't have to worry about taking care of the kids. What is told, you got to stay home, you got to take care of these kids, they need you. Your mom.
Mm.
Dad can go out, make mistakes, build the business, stay out late, do what all he needs to do to build it. Yes, he comes home and brings it back, but that responsibility of being the caregiver
Mm-hmm.
and taking care of the family, that's not his responsibility. His responsibility is to only focus on how to build and grow and make the money for the family.
Yeah, and that's how society train you up. They
Absolutely.
train the man to go out and work, but I think that even if you're in the position and you have a husband, he take care of, whatever, pay attention. Pay attention how he moving, pay attention how he getting his money, pay attention so that you don't be left in the background without knowing anything and something happens to that guy. What happens to you if you're not prepared?
Absolutely. I tell my community all the time, my ladies, the husband and your children is not your financial plan. He can wait. I've had women, the husband woke up one day after 30 years and said, I no longer want to be married. I'm getting somebody younger, and left her with nothing.
Hmm.
Nothing was in her name. She knew nothing going on, didn't have a financial plan for herself.
And we can't have
I
that.
deal with
Like
that all the time. I
we
deal with
we
it all the time.
that's unacceptable. I don't care if you're
But we
taking
still
care of the
live in a world.
bills.
But if you look at social media, like, okay, look at social media.
Yeah.
Men are the saviors. That what we talk, you marry rich, get you a rich man. It's in the music.
Mhm.
Listen to the music. And music, oh, it dictates. The music will make you do or not do.
That's true.
In
But
the Black culture, music is very powerful.
it is.
Music is
Whatever's
very
spoken
powerful.
over you, so we have to gain that confidence, shift that mindset so we can already know. Right. So it don't matter what somebody's you like the song for whatever reason. You can't speak that over my life. You're not about to continue poverty over my life. You're not, like you just gotta have that thought and say, today is the day that I'm going to break that generational poverty or just lack because you may not be on that poverty line, right? But you still ain't got no savings like you should or want to, and it's okay, right? It's no judgment. So today, we just want to make sure that you have some steps to get started. Go
Mhm.
ahead, Bridget, because you go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Some steps to get started, and it's a proverb as well, and I believe it's Proverbs 13:22. It says, "A good man leaves an inheritance for his children." So, because I know we get so tied up on certain things, but it's in there for us to be proactive so we can have something to leave for our children, right? And enjoy now. Life ain't about just enjoying later. It's about doing what you can so you can enjoy now, but also reap later as
And
well.
I think also too, I grew up in the church, y'all.
Mhm.
I grew up in the church, and I'll tell you one thing I noticed. They taught definitely they taught poverty.
Mhm.
I'm gonna tell I at that time I didn't know. Now because I'm older, I see. So you're supposed to give what God 10%.
Mhm.
So I would see people break $100 bill. They would give them change for 100, but put $1 in the plate. Now, if you made 100, 10% is what? $10, right? So I'm just trying to figure out, like, but why we giving God $1? And
Mhm.
then what other nine? Why we ain't giving the whole 10?
Right.
But the church taught poverty.
Mhm.
And so nobody was teaching you about money.
Right.
They wasn't teaching you how to manage and how to grow it. But they saying you got to give your 10%.
Mhm.
But a lot of this didn't start clicking to me until I got older,
Same.
where we're not talking about it in the church and where we should. Now, I understood it then because they were only teaching what they knew. So it
Exactly.
wasn't their fault, right? They only taught what they knew. And that's how we get it. They only teaching, so it's not their fault. And so I also talk to my clients about forgiving the church, forgiving your parents,
They
because
did not know.
they did not know. And so it wasn't, and I have people that live in there like, why they other families and cultures teach, but that's different. Our walk is totally different.
And that's a whole nother
I
discussion,
know. That's a
you
whole,
know,
yeah, that's a whole
how we got to where we are, because it didn't just start. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you take the fact that before we came to America, just to say African Americans, right? They had a culture over there. Everybody was not homeless. They knew how to, and they still do it to this day. They knew how to work with what they had. And if you want to take it back to the Bible, the women, had scarlet. They knew how to sew. They sold their stuff. Okay, it's just so much. I think more of us, and I think some churches are teaching better as they're learning to really understand the text in the Bible, when he says, that I, give and it will be given unto you, or being faithful over a few, and I'll make you ruler over much. And that's in all areas of your life, because mind you, your life is looked at by God, and he's like, I'm gonna see what you can handle now, and then I can add, because only God add and take away. Okay.
I
Um,
would say probably the one valuable lesson my dad taught me growing up was that he said, what if you don't have the money to tithe? He said, what else could you do? He said, could you tithe your time? Could you help somebody else? And it was a time in my life where I had got laid off. And I know I'm reaping. I know that for sure. I went and helped a group of, it was a literacy program. and for adults to help them read. Every Monday I would go, and I had all adults. So my youngest was 35, my oldest was, I guess he was probably 65,
Mhm.
that didn't know how to read. I wasn't physically in a position to give money like that, but I gave my time. I gave my talent to help somebody get what they needed. Tithing looks different, but in the church is,
Yes.
I think a lot of times our perception with that relationship with money.
It says
And
tithe your times and offerings. You can do your time because everybody don't have it to give.
everybody don't have it. But the sometimes in the Black culture, oh, you ain't pay your tithes? God, that condemnation that comes down on you in your community
Hmm.
if you didn't tithe. But I think it's just that goes back to education. And
Yeah,
also I get past all of that with my clients and help them understand you got to get, because I had to.
yeah, yeah.
Like I'm not like I went through a lot of the problems you going through. Like, so I had to get all that out of me as well. But I think it's also too, it's just culturally, this our story, our history with money, it stems from the church. It stems from slavery. We are still, even though slavery is dead and gone, and like we are still living of it to like it's still real today.
And it's not easy to break, but I think it's still just having the mindset to start somewhere.
But
Um,
it starts with this. It
it
starts with that.
does. It does.
Absolutely.
Um, Okay. Well, this is, almost the end of our time, and I want to thank you for coming on here once again and sharing your knowledge. I will link everything in the description box on how to get with Miss Bridgett, aka the financial lady, to help you get started on building that wealth. All right. Thank you
One
guys.
more thing I want before I leave, I want to tell whoever is listening. I know it's probably primarily women, but I do look, I know it's gonna be some men listening too. One thing, especially to my women, I want you to know you're not your financial mistakes. A lot of times women sit that they are the financial mistake. They've made the mistake, they don't know how to move forward. And a lot of times women sit in embarrassment and judgment because they don't want nobody to judge them, and they're embarrassed because they're at a certain age or a certain point in time in their life and they don't know, or they feel like they should have known. I always tell my clients it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility once you know. But you are not your financial mistakes. This is temporary. You can get out of this, but you cannot do this alone. You do need help. You do need that community, that support. You need help. So if you're listening to this, you're in the right place to get the help you need.
For now. Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you. And again, I'll put everything so you can get in touch with Miss Bridgett. Thank you, Bridgett. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it and gained some information. Please stay tuned for next week's episode here on Tuesday. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon.